The sun hung over Phoenix like an accusation. It did not warm. It punished. Under that heat, a red Jaguar cut through the city like a streak of color that did not belong. Behind the wheel, Elena Travers drove in silence. No music, no distractions, only the soft rhythm of tires on overheated asphalt and the slow flow of air through a half-open window. Her sleeves were rolled to the elbows and her watch glowed faintly beneath the glare. She looked relaxed and controlled, yet every movement carried weight. Elena was not headed anywhere particular. The mission was finished. The layers of encryption had been dismantled. The cartel server had collapsed. The funds had been emptied. Her cover had been withdrawn. For the first time in months, she was on the surface. No shadows, no back doors, no prepaid phones. And for that, she had bought something clean, something precise, something entirely her own. The Jaguar, red as rebellion, silent as trust, free of loans, free of favors, free of any need for a badge to sign the title. And that, it seemed, was the problem. 2 blocks from the highway junction, a black and white patrol car slid in behind her. No hurry, no sirens, only presence. 2 men inside watched, evaluated. The cruiser followed step for step, like a predator testing its prey. Then the blue and red flash arrived, bright even in silence. Elena exhaled once, lowered the window, and pulled over. Soft light. She knew the routine. She had trained people in this routine. Hands visible, eyes forward, no sudden movements. The officers approached. One was imposing. Officer Harlan Rourke, sun-reddened and weary-looking. The other was younger, Officer Cole Vance, already smiling, far too certain of how this would end. "License and registration," Rourke said flatly, as if the words themselves were already a burden. Elena answered calmly. "License is in my bag, registration in the glove box." She reached slowly. "Go ahead," Vance said, shifting position to look inside. She moved with care. No tension, no attitude, only precision. They barely glanced at the papers. "You drive this?" Vance asked, raising an eyebrow. "I picked it up yesterday," Elena said. "A celebration." "For what?" Rourke interrupted. "A federal contract," she answered. "Cyber intelligence. Nothing I can discuss." But it was not really a question. They had already decided. The color of the car, the skin of her hands, the zip code where they stood, none of it fit their picture. "We've had reports of stolen luxury vehicles in this area," Rourke said, nodding toward Vance. "Would you mind stepping out?" "You have the paperwork," Elena replied. "Nothing here has been stolen." "That wasn't a suggestion," Vance said. The mocking smile had vanished. What replaced it was colder, more authoritarian. She stepped out with hands visible and voice steady. "You're profiling me," she said quietly but firmly. "And you're doing it without cause." Rourke did not blink. "Turn around, hands on the hood." One breath, just enough to let him know she had seen everything. Then she obeyed. The handcuffs were too tight, not enough to bruise, but enough to send a message. This was not about the law. It was about control. Vance rifled through the center console as if he already owned it. "Everyone thinks the rules don't apply when they've got a new car and a LinkedIn account," he muttered. Elena did not look at him. "You never checked the plates," she said with precise calm. "You never ran the registration. You called the tow truck before you even uncuffed me." They ignored her. Across the street, the flatbed truck began backing slowly into position, as if the scene had been rehearsed. The red Jaguar rose like a trophy onto the steel ramp. Clear. Vance took 2 more photos, not for evidence, but for sale. Rourke removed the handcuffs without ceremony. "No arrest," he said. "Not today. But don't push your luck." Elena adjusted her sleeves, jaw tight, then spoke in a tone sharper than any shout. "The clock is running, officers. Didn't you hear the signal? They did not notice the silent pulse from the Jaguar's integrated system, the GPS, the audio, the VIN tracker. Everything was now live and mirrored on a console at Homeland Field. They did not see the room light up 3 states away. A technician stared at the screen and murmured, "She took the bait." Because this was not just a car, and Elena Travers was not just a woman behind the wheel. She was the tip of an iceberg they never saw coming. Elena kept her eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. The lights behind her flashed in cycles, red, blue, red again. The patrol car did not move abruptly. It did not need to. The message was already clear. She signaled, slowed, and eased the Jaguar to the curb. The engine faded beneath her fingers. Her posture never changed. Her hands stayed at 10 and 2. They approached. Rourke on the left, Vance on the right. Rourke's face was unreadable, the expression of a man already tired of paperwork he had not yet written. Vance wore a smile that was more performance than courtesy. Neither asked why they had stopped her. They did not need to. The car answered for them. "License and registration," Rourke said. Elena nodded. "Wallet in my bag. Glove box for the registration." "Slowly," Vance added. He stepped closer, trying to peer into the cabin. His eyes were not on her hands. They were on the stitched leather, the dashboard, the watch on her wrist. She moved with the patience of someone who understood exactly what they were looking for, and how wrong they were. They took the documents as if they were evidence from a crime that did not exist. Rourke did not even read the name before passing them to Vance. "You bought this car?" Vance asked. "Yes," Elena answered. "Yesterday. Cash." He pressed as if the answer were impossible to legalize. "After a federal contract," she said calmly. "Cyber intelligence. That pays for Jaguars in this neighborhood now?" Rourke asked, folding his arms. The question was not a question. It was a statement in disguise. Then came the turn. "We've received reports of stolen luxury vehicles in the immediate area." Elena tightened her jaw. "You have the documentation." "Step out," Vance interrupted. "We'll clear this up quickly." "This is not procedure," she said. "This is discrimination." "Is that a complaint, ma'am?" Rourke asked. "Or just attitude?" She opened the door slowly, deliberately, without sudden movements. Her body language was calm, but not submissive. She kept her voice steady, hands visible. "What you are doing right now is not law enforcement. It is theater." "Turn around," Rourke ordered. She paused long enough to make it clear she had seen them. Then she turned, hands on the hood. The handcuffs clicked, just tight enough to send a message, not about control, but about ownership, about who belonged behind a car like this and who did not. Vance moved to the center console. No gloves, no warrant. "They put on a good show," he muttered. Laptop, government badge, a little speech about contracts. Then we find a gun under the seat, and suddenly it's a different story. Elena did not look at him. "You skipped protocol. You never ran the VIN. You never called dispatch." The tow truck was already waiting. "Are you implying we're corrupt?" Rourke asked. "I'm implying you're careless," Elena answered. She stepped closer, voice low. "You think that badge makes you special? I think it means you will have to explain every second of this stop when it goes federal." His hand flexed at his side, not a fist yet, only the shadow of one. "Watch your tone," he murmured. "You're acting like we're the ones out of place." Vance slammed the console shut. "Nothing here," he called. "Probably cleaned it out before we got to the other side of the street." Across the road. The seizure truck began backing toward the curb. The driver never looked at the officers, only activated the winch. The red Jaguar tilted upward, steel striking chrome. Then came the photos. Vance again. 2 quick angles of the plates, the interior, the VIN. Not for evidence, for inventory. The car was already marked for transfer. Rourke removed the handcuffs. "You're lucky," he said. "No charges, no record. But next time try to blend in." She did not answer. She adjusted her sleeves, recovered her posture, and then, quietly, "The clock is running." They did not ask what she meant. They did not notice the change. But 3 states away, her signal had already been received. National security servers activated. The tracking began. And for the first time in months, the hook had taken the bait. The game had started. Elena sat in the back seat of an unmarked Homeland vehicle. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Sarah Lang, her partner and analyst, was already typing on the encrypted console in her lap. They exchanged no words, yet the hum of electronics filled the small compartment like a shared heartbeat. By the time Elena settled into a chair in their improvised office, a dark, windowless suite behind a logistics warehouse, Sarah was speaking softly. They never ran the plates. They never logged the stop. They never called dispatch. The tow truck was in position before the cuffs clicked. Elena nodded slowly. "Classic impound scam," she said. "Target the driver. Seize the vehicle unsupervised." She folded her arms. "A lot of stolen luxury cars have been moving through the cartel's main channels. The red Jaguar would not be the exception." Sarah's fingers flew across the screen. A map appeared. 5 blinking red dots clustered around satellite fuel depots and hidden garages across 3 Arizona counties. "This is how the cycles work," Sarah said. "Seize, tow, title, sell, 3 Cs, luxury submarket, all with black or Hispanic drivers, not a single one processed properly." Her voice was cold, but she was not surprised. Elena leaned forward. "They move them fast." The map updated with a timeline. The car graveyards had a life cycle. Hours to tow, more hours to store, a couple of days to auction. "Sarah, pull the VINs from the Phoenix fleet," Elena ordered. "Scan titles registered under Southwest Shell Company." The screen locked on one entry. A Panama registered Shell, red passport, no reservation. She added it to an alternate chain labeled with the same handling format. Her watch chimed once. "Vehicle is live signaling at the East Phoenix Depot, Lot 7. Sarah marked it. They moved it again. GPS dropped a few blocks. Elena exhaled. "Someone is waiting for this. Not for parts, but for proof." The circle tightened. Elena filled a black folder with screenshots, VIN records, timestamps, geofences. "Bring in Elaine Bryce," she said, voice edged by the hum. "We need an internal review started." Sarah hesitated. "She'll ask why I skipped protocol." "You'll tell her it's because these officers are following scripts from an organized crime playbook out of the station under my supervision. No permission, no cover. We either report everything or we bury it." Elaine Bryce arrived a short while later. Slender, professionally polite, yet carrying the aura of someone who had built her career by going past the lies. When Elena placed the folder on the table, Elaine did not flinch. She reviewed the documents quickly, scanning records and mapping algorithms. "This is extensive," she said. "I need internal access to the station's retention logs and DMV anomalies." "Access is already flagged," Elena answered. "I wiped it covertly through Homeland, but if you dig into extended queries, you'll see panel reports on hidden depot seizures going back more than a year." Elaine narrowed her eyes. "Ghost deleted." Elena nodded. "Yes, after I flagged them." Elaine looked up. "Let me guess. They erased your profile." "I'm no longer in the system," Elena said quietly. "They're preparing to make me a non-person." Elaine considered her. "That makes it harder. But it also means they had to go institutional to cover it. This isn't just dirty station officers. This is coordinated." Elena's posture tightened. "And it's not only Phoenix. The same phantom buyer registry showed up in Dallas, Houston, Tucson, and other southwestern states. I reported it through Homeland's dark intelligence nodes. It's a network of corrupted precincts." Elaine leaned in. "And the federal level?" Elena touched her earpiece. Director Vernon Hale authorized privilege clearance for Captain Caleb Strath 2 years ago without review. That's unusual. And I have a signal showing live pings from Strath's personal phone lines matching the shell company contacts we've tracked. Elaine pressed her lips together. We're talking about a cartel front network run by a decorated district captain, approved and protected at the highest level. Elena clenched her teeth. Yes, and they set a trap for me. The red Jaguar, the clean car, the clean contract, but also a trigger. They knew I had exposed the system. Sarah gave a short, dry laugh. That's brilliant and sad. Elaine folded her hands. What's our next move? They still don't suspect I'm compromised, Elena said. We let the car advance one more node. That's where they'll bring in the operations owner. We find them, track them back to Strath, and then we call it in. Elaine stood. Let's do it. I'll start subpoenas for DMV title transfers. I'll cite the shell company documents. Sarah, once the vehicle leaves the east side, push signals to the off-network towers in the following window. I'll report to internal affairs, but only as cover. No leaks outside this room. Elena's lips curved into the first genuine half-smile. The clock is running. Later, they monitored a satellite signal. The car left Lot 7 in East Phoenix. It was moved to a warehouse beside a private access road near Tucson. A drone feed showed the Jaguar locked inside a fenced compound. 2 municipal-plated trucks parked nearby, none with state plates, and uniformed personnel performing maintenance tasks. Elena touched her phone. Sarah, geofence the plates. I want dispatch audio. Drone logs every hour. Sarah opened a feed. Masked figures with handheld scanners reading VIN plates, logbooks being sealed, timers running countdowns. Strange, Sarah said. Scan time is 2 seconds, no video logs. Elena processed it. They're smart. They've coded internal flags to mark this car's pre-approved rotation without evidence, dodging audits. She looked at Elaine, whose expression had grown grim. Hale knows what he's doing. They watched as the Jaguar remained untouched, protected inside the compound. There's a moment, Sarah said, when a municipal truck parks too close. The driver gets out, badge on the side, scans the rear window. He's inside the car. Elena's gaze sharpened. A microphone looked away, so someone is monitoring them. They put equipment in the car before it was seized. Elaine exhaled. That's another layer. Elena nodded. Maybe we have more than a seizure ring. Maybe we have a surveillance dome. Elaine pulled internal messages flagged by Homeland's intrusion detection system. A backdoor bridge disabled into the Sarah systems, marked with a red override code. Elena went still. That code was only supposed to be used once, in a foreign operation years ago. Hale authorized it for Strath. Elaine cleared her throat. This goes straight to the Inspector General and possibly Senate oversight, but we leak it internally first. Good. Elena closed her eyes for a moment. We're going to need more than digital records. We need a confessing witness, someone who can put this driver in a room on the record. Later that night, Elena sat alone in the safe house, replaying the tow truck operator's dashcam footage, a man in his 50s wearing a grease-stained vest. She had asked Elaine to bring him in after seeing the path. The footage showed Rourke and Vance talking about the new red Jaguar before they even approached. Elaine confirmed it. He'll testify. Elena watched it again. Now we have him, she whispered, because he's not corrupt, has no connections, and he's scared. She leaned forward. I need him prepared. We'll coordinate with Inspector General Protection. Her phone vibrated. A short email. The vehicle had been moved to an underground facility near the cartel territory line. Elena began typing map data, satellite overlays, cross-references. We're going in. She paused. Sarah, set a secure line with Elaine. Give the truck driver the protection flight details. We move as soon as the car hits. Sarah's reply, on it. Elena leaned back. The air conditioning hum softened. In a corner of the room, a small red light blinked. The Jaguar's signal was still alive miles away, feeding telemetry. Steady, like a heartbeat. She whispered into the dark, "Let's see who moves first." The satellite signal ended. The girl froze for less than 4 seconds, long enough for Elena Travers to lift her head. "Buffering," Sarah said quietly, fingers tracing the thermal grid. "The vehicle is no longer visible. I suspect a tunnel." Elena stood. They buried it. Elaine Bryce was already on the line. "You're not going to like this." Internal Affairs flagged Caleb Strath for oversight review months ago. Leah's report was pulled before it reached the committee. Source file deleted. "Guess who signed the purge?" Elena answered without blinking. "Vernon Hale." Elaine's voice hardened. "We have a corruption vector, and now it has a name." The operation was no longer local. Phoenix was only the entry wound. Elena watched the digital overlay of counties, lit by heat signatures and data leaks. Every flash represented a vanished vehicle, a mismatched VIN, a silence in the radio logs, places where protocol did not merely fail, but was rewritten. "This isn't seizure fraud," Sarah said. "It's trafficking infrastructure built into police systems." Elena's voice was calm, yet her words carried steel. "And they used me to validate it. The hack wasn't just bait, it was their proof. If I resisted and disappeared, they would know the shield worked. If I escalated, they would watch how far I could go." Elaine returned with confirmation. Strath authorized the direct transfer of 36 seizures to a shell company linked to a fake insurance branch at the pass. On paper, it looks like a security auction, but the cars never appear anywhere else. They vanish after a couple of days. "Money trail?" Elena asked. "Bitcoin," Elaine answered, "and ghost wallets tied to campaign fundraisers. These aren't officers pocketing cash. They're channeling profits into elections." There it was. The entire map shifted. Sarah's screen lit up. "We just received a ping from one of our silent devices. East Denver Precinct. A red Jaguar clone with the same VIN was detected during patrol. The lot is pending inspection." No criminal history, no intake sheet. Elena narrowed her eyes. "Same vehicle, repainted, same body." "Confirmed," Sarah said. "Different plates. They're creating duplicates." Elena went still for a moment. "Which means the real Jaguar is a test asset. Every time it lands, every person who signs, this network expands." She turned to Elaine. "We have to shut down the clone node. Denver is running a federal check. We either lock everything, or we lose the chain." Elaine nodded. "I'll send a U.S. Marshal to secure the compound, but you'll need a voice, a witness. No more data, no more recordings. You need someone who puts a human face on the cost." Elena knew exactly who. Jordan Price, 19 years old, walked into the Inspector General's waiting room as if the years had doubled on him. He did not slouch. He did not rush. He carried a folder full of letters, photographs, and a handwritten note. "They stopped me a block from my job," he said. "Said the plates didn't look right. My mother saved 2 years for that car. They said it was seized. They never showed us the papers." Elena asked the only question that mattered. "Did they search you?" Jordan nodded. "Emptied my backpack, my lunch, my work gloves, even my ID. The officer told me I matched a pattern, but he never ran the plates." He looked up. "They never reported it. I know because the radio was off, and I asked 3 times. Elaine whispered to Elena, "This is the fracture line." Jordan slid a document across the table. "They took my car, and 2 weeks later, my friend saw it on Instagram. Different wheels, new plates, for sale. I recorded it." He looked at both women. "Is that why no one answered our report? Because they already knew?" Elena recorded. "Yes," she said, "and we will make it public, but we will need you under protection." Jordan did not flinch. "As long as they don't get away with it." That same night, the safe house was intercepted. The external signal failed. Elena's screen lit with a coded warning, "Strath has moved." Elaine cut in. He's gone dark. No digital movement. National security files redacted. We could lose him if he crosses into cartel zones. Elena's reply was quiet. He won't. The final lead came from a former cartel operative turned informant in Tucson, whispered into a recorder. They only check these cars once the station signals are stripped. Until then, they belong to the state. After that, currency. Currency. Clear. Not every car was stolen. It was a signature, a unit of exchange, political favors, campaign deals, even strategic silence. Each vehicle, a vote, a bribe, a substitute for what real money could not legally touch. Elena stared at the tracker. The authentic red Jaguar had vanished from the map, not because it stopped transmitting, but because it had moved outside recognized lines of authority. It was now flagged as an extra-jurisdictional diplomatic asset. They were not merely using the cars. They were laundering federal authority through seizure. And Strath had one last play left. Elena knew it. She looked at the map. He'll try to move it out of state, maybe under a training seizure clause. Elaine clenched her teeth. If he signs it, it's legally untouchable. Then we cut him off before he files, Elena said. She turned to Jordan. Ready to make it public? He nodded. I've been ready since they took my name off the report. They had a narrow window before the final delivery. Strath had filed a little-known interagency vehicle acquisition authorization request. It gave him complete federal protection, just enough time to send the red Jaguar to a false Homeland Security division operating out of New Mexico. From there, it would disappear into private hands. It was the last step in a long asset laundering operation, and it was almost safe. But Elena Travers did not wait for permission. She appeared before the Inspector General's oversight team, 8 agents, 3 monitors, and a solitary voice on video from Washington. Elaine Bryce briefed the room. We have evidence of a pattern of seizures conducted under false suspicion, coordinated by officers who never logged arrests, never issued citations, never filed reports. She paused. These vehicles were not auctioned. They were diverted. Elena stepped forward. We have confirmed 42 VINs, all linked to shell entities, unregistered agents, precinct officers, or falsified training permits. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. The data hit harder than any speech. She clicked the first photograph. A 19-year-old's Honda Civic, seized, never dismantled, now owned by a real estate company tied to a former sheriff's brother. Next slide. A black Escalade belonging to a pastor, seized, no paperwork, now registered to a political donor in Flagstaff. Then came the final skid. The red Jaguar. This one, Elena said, was scheduled to disappear tomorrow. The room fell silent. Elaine leaned forward. We request the immediate suspension of Captain Caleb Strath, the seizure of all files under his authorization, and the opening of a joint investigation with the Homeland Internal Tribunal. The voice from Washington answered firmly. Approved. Outside, the plan went into motion. Sarah monitored drones over the New Mexico Training Center. Jack on site. 3 controllers, no plates, all in civilian clothes. Elena adjusted her coat. Local press, 3 outlets. We leaked the testimony. They'll publish within the hour. Jordan Price sat quietly in the back of the van, hands folded. He did not ask what would happen next. He had already said enough. They wanted me to think I was crazy, he said, like I imagined it, like no one would believe a teenager with a lunchbox. Elena glanced at him. They underestimated the wrong person. The convoy reached the compound just before first light. Elena, Elaine, 2 federal marshals, and a court clerk. The main gate was unlocked. Inside, the red Jaguar sat under a tarp, parked in perfect condition. Elena pulled the cover back. The vehicle gleamed in the morning light, untouched, unmistakable. But it was not alone. Beside it stood 4 other vehicles, BMWs and Audis, all registered under interagency Homeland codes. They were trying to convert the seizures into diplomatic fleets en masse, Elaine murmured. Elena opened the driver's door. Under the seat was a voice recorder. She pressed play. Strath's voice came through, laughing, clipped from a conversation with an unknown party. Let them complain about protocol. They'll never track a car once it's on a training manifest. It's clean money, safer than Coca-Cola, and it looks better parked outside a donor gala. Elaine raised an eyebrow. He admitted it. Elena turned to the clerk. Did you hear that? I did, he said, holding up the federal warrant. These facilities are now under embargo. All assets are frozen. They moved quickly. The marshals tagged every vehicle. Sarah uploaded the recording. The news spread online, first in Arizona, then nationally. Red cars, blue plates, black money. It caused an uproar. Strath was arrested that same night, calm, shirt buttoned, offering no resistance. You're making a mistake, he said. This is above your level. Elena looked him straight in the eyes. You were always the system's favorite, but you forgot who reads the records. She turned away without another word. Elaine's voice came over the communicator. Next, his clearance was revoked an hour ago. That night, Elena returned to her small apartment. The Jaguar was there, towed, verified, cleaned, and intact. Her name on the title. Her keys on the counter. She opened a drawer and took out a tape. A voice message from her father. His voice crackled through static. They can take your job. They can take the car, but not the voice. Not your voice, Eli. Use it. She sat in silence for a moment, then went outside, climbed into the Jaguar, and started the engine. No sirens followed her, only the city finally quiet, and a woman reclaiming the road. The plate cracked, but the voice endured. There were no applause, no parade, only a press conference and a wall of microphones. Elaine Bryce stood at the podium with measured words. We have confirmed a systematic abuse of vehicle seizure procedures. Multiple precincts in Arizona and elsewhere were involved in falsifying reports and laundering government assets under the pretext of interagency transfers. This was not a policy failure. It was a deliberate manipulation of power. Beside her, Elena Travers remained silent. She was not there to perform. She was there to be seen. By every girl who had ever been stopped and known she did not deserve it. By every person whose silence had been mistaken for consent. And by every officer who still believed the badge made them untouchable. Jordan Price's testimony aired that night. A neat young man with a quiet voice and eyes too old for his age. They told me the car was stolen. They told me I didn't belong there. But we paid for that car. We earned it. And they took it anyway. The video went viral. By morning, Had Not Your Yours was trending across every platform. Thousands of new stories poured in. Photos, dashcam videos, sworn statements, not only from Arizona, but from Detroit, Miami, Fresno. Each one was an echo of the same truth. Systems do not need guns to steal. They only need silence and paperwork. Congress requested a federal review of seizure protocols. The Department of Homeland Security launched an internal audit. Director Vernon Hale resigned without statement. Strath's trial was set for the following month. He never entered a guilty plea, but his recorded voice spoke louder than any lawyer. The red Jaguar, now held as evidence, remained in a federal lot, intact, unclaimed, until one morning a letter arrived. Authorization granted, vehicle released, name restored to the title. Elena collected it alone. No escort, no press. She sat behind the wheel, turned the key, and listened. Not to the engine, but to the silence. The kind of silence that arrives when a long storm has finally passed. She drove through the city the way she had the first time, hands relaxed, windows open. But this time the quiet did not feel threatening, it felt earned. At a red light. A young officer looked at her, saw her, recognized her. He nodded, respectful, careful. She did not smile, but she held his gaze. He looked away first. Back home, she opened a drawer filled with things she had thought lost. Her Homeland credentials, her father's voice message, her own reflection. Elena was not proud. She was tired, but she was not finished. She joined a new civilian review board, unarmed, unpaid, and unstoppable. Not for headlines, but to keep the records. Because the truth does not survive only in reports. It survives in repetition. And for the first time in a long while, she slept with the windows open. No alarms, no scanners. Only the hum of a city that was finally being watched, not by the system, but by those who refused to look away.